Hi Adams, this is Miss Kovarik, and we are on Unit 8, Lesson 13 today, and we're going to read a chapter called The Adventure Comes to an End. So here is your vocab. First word is superstitious, which means having irrational fears about mysterious things, so like black cats or walking under a ladder. Sometimes people think those are something that is superstitious. It will give them bad luck. It's not good to do. Well-being is the state of being happy, healthy, and comfortable. Excavation is a place in the ground where material has been dug up and removed. Guinea is a gold coin that used to be used in Great Britain. Ambush is to make a surprise attack. Doubloon is a gold coin formerly used in Spain. Moidor, a gold coin that was formerly used in Portugal or Brazil. And then sequin is also a gold coin that used to be used in Venice, Malta, or Turkey. So we are on Chapter 9, The Adventure Comes to an End. Silver and the rest of us pressed on until all of a sudden, out of the trees in front of us, we heard a thin, high, trembling voice. "Darby McGraw," it wailed. "Darby McGraw, fetch aft the weapons, Darby," again and again and again. The men were petrified. Their faces turned white with fear. "Blimey," George Merry cried, "it's Flint's voice." "And those were his last words," said another. "Come," said Silver, "it's not Flint. Flint's in his grave." "Then it's his ghost come back to haunt us," said Mary. "Mates," Silver cried, "I'm here to get that stuff, and I'll not be beat by man nor spirit. I never was feared of Flint, and I'll face him dead if need be. There's £500,000 of treasure just up the hill." Have you ever heard of gentlemen of fortune turning their backs on that much money? "Stop it, John," said Mary. "Don't cross the spirit." "Are you sure it's really a spirit?" Silver shot back. "Me, I have my doubts. Did you notice that there was an echo? No man ever seen a spirit with a shadow." "Well, what's this one doing with an echo to him, I should like to know. Surely that ain't in nature." This argument seemed weak to me, but you can never tell me what will convince a superstitious person. To my wonder, George Merry was relieved. "John's right," he said. "It had an echo." "And come to think on it," Silver added, "it was not quite like Flint's voice. It was more like old Ben Gunn's voice." "It don't make much difference, do it?" asked one of the men. "Ben Gunn's not here any more than Flint." The older hands were not convinced. "Why, nobody minds Ben Gunn," cried George Merry. "Dead or alive, nobody minds him." It was extraordinary how they regained their sense of well-being. They shouldered their tools and we set forth again. We passed 2 tall trees and the 4th loomed up before us. It rose nearly 200 feet into the air, but it was not its size that impressed the men. It was the knowledge that there was gold buried below its spreading shadow. The thought of the money swallowed up their previous terrors. Their feet grew lighter and speedier. Each man imagined the life of wealth and extravagance that awaited him. Silver hobbled forward on his crutch. He tugged furiously on the line that held me to him and shot me a deadly look. He took no pains to hide his thoughts. In the nearness of the gold, all had been forgotten. His promise to me was a thing of the past. I did not doubt that he hoped to seize the treasure, kill every honest man, and sail away laden with crimes and riches. We were now close to the spot, and the men broke into a run. 10 yards further we came to a halt. Before us was a great excavation, not very recent, for the sides had fallen in and grass had sprouted on them. In the ditch we saw a broken shovel. The treasure had been found and rifled. The £500,000 were gone. The men were thunderstruck, but for Silver the shock passed almost instantly. His every thought had been set on the money. It had staggered him to discover that it was gone, but he kept his head and made a new plan in an instant. "Jim," he whispered, "stand by for trouble." He passed me a pistol and smiled at me as if we were old friends. I was so shocked by his constant change of heart that I couldn't help whispering, "So now you're on my side again?" There was no time for him to answer. Mary had found a single coin in the pit and he held it up. "A guinea," he shouted, furiously shaking the coin at Silver. "That's all that's left. That's your £500,000 of treasure, is it?" Silver kept calm. He took a few steps back, keeping one eye on Mary and the others. "Mates," Mary shouted, whipping out his cutlass, "those 2 are to blame, Silver and the boy. Let's get 'em." Then, crack, 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 3 muskets flashed out of the thicket. George Mary tumbled headfirst into the excavation. Another man spun like a top and fell to the ground. The other three turned tail and ran for it with all their might. A few seconds later, Dr. Livesey, Gray, and Ben Gunn stepped out of the thicket with smoking muskets. Silver did not try to escape. Instead, he shot George Mary. Then he dropped his weapons and threw an arm around me. He called out to Dr. Livesey, "Thank ye kindly, doctor. I'm on your side now. Jim here will bear me out, and you arrived just in the nick of time for the two of us." "So it is you, Ben Gunn," added Silver. "I am Ben Gunn, I am," replied old Ben. After this exchange, Dr. Livesey explained what had taken place. It was a story that profoundly interested Silver, and Ben Gunn was the hero. So this is them in the thicket. See them with the rifles and Silver's men falling into the pit. During his lonely wanderings about the island, old Ben had found the pointing skeleton, and later he had found the treasure. He had dug up the loot and carried it away. It took many trips, but eventually he stashed it all safely in a cave. After the pirates attacked the stockade, the doctor had gone to see Ben Gunn and had wormed the secret out of him. The next morning, the doctor went to Silver and made a deal with him. He agreed to give Silver the map, which was no use anymore, along with some supplies. The doctor and the others were eager to get away from the stockade. They wanted to keep an eye on the cave where Ben Gunn stored the treasure. That morning, the doctor left the squire and the captain in the cave. With Ben Gunn and Gray, he set out to ambush the mutineers. He knew they would follow the map straight to the spot where the treasure had been. In order to arrive before the pirates, Dr. Livesey directed Ben Gunn to call out in Flint's voice. He guessed this might upset the superstitious pirates, as in fact it did, and would give them time to arrive at the spot first. Then the three of them hid in the thicket. They opened fire on the mutineers when they turned against Silver and me. "Ah," said Silver, "it was fortunate for me that I was with Hawkins here. If he hadn't been here, you would have let old John be cut to bits and never given it another thought." "Not a thought," replied Dr. Livesey. We marched back to the shore, got into one of the landing boats, and set off for the Hispaniola. When we got back to the ship, we sailed her to a cove near Ben Gunn's cave. Ben Gunn's cave was large and airy. There was a fire at the mouth of it, and Captain Smollett lay by the fire. The captain was astonished to see Silver return with us. "What brings you here?" he asked. "Come back to do my duty, sir," said Silver. In the flickering light of the cave, I beheld heaps of coins and stacks of golden bars. That was Flint's treasure that we had come so far to seek, and that had already cost the lives of a number of men. How many lives had it cost to gather all this gold? How many seamen had been shot or marooned or sent to the bottom of the ocean? There's no way to tell. The next day we hauled the treasure to the ship. I spent the morning in the cave packing money into bags. It was a strange collection of coins. There were guineas, doubloons, moidores, and sequins adorned with pictures of all the kings of Europe for the last 100 years. There were strange oriental pieces stamped with what looked like bits of spider webs. There were round pieces and square pieces and pieces with holes in the middle so you would wear them around your neck. We had nearly every variety of money in the world, I do believe. And this is showing those different coins. So it says, most pirates likely sailed ashore to spend their treasures on pleasure and luxury. If, however, like Flint, a pirate saved and buried his loot, he would eventually boast a collection from many different countries. A farthing was worth a quarter of an English penny, and a guinea was worth 1 pound plus 1 shilling. The English guinea, as well as the Spanish doubloon, Portuguese moidore, and the Italian and Turkish sequins were all gold coins in common use during the golden age of piracy. A coin could be spent not only in its nation of origin, but also in the colonies in the Americas and the Caribbean. And that is him in the cave with all the treasure, sorting it. Silver worked alongside the rest of us as if nothing at all had occurred. When we heard nothing of the other 3 mutineers until that night, when we heard them singing and shouting, "Merriment," said Silver. A meeting was held, and we decided that it would be safest to leave the 3 mutineers on the island, but with some food and supplies. At last we weighed anchor and began our voyage home. As we pulled away, we saw the mutineers. They were kneeling on the sand with their arms raised. We felt sorry for them, but we could not risk another mutiny. The doctor shouted to them and told them where to find the supplies they had left. When we saw we could not come back for them, they got out their muskets and fired at us. The shots went whistling over our heads. We sailed to a port on the coast of South America, where we were surrounded by boats full of native people selling fruits and vegetables. I went ashore for the day with the squire and Dr. Livesey. The sight of so many smiling faces, the taste of tropical fruits, and above all, the lights of the town made a charming contrast to our dark and dangerous stay on the island. When we returned to the ship, Ben Gunn made a confession. Silver was gone. Ben had helped him escape, even though he assured us he had done so to save our lives. That was not all, though. The old sea cook had taken with him a sack of coins worth 400 guineas. I am pleased to be rid of him so cheaply, said the doctor. Well, to make a long story short, we got a few new hands on board, made an enjoyable cruise home, and reached Bristol just as Mr. Blandley was beginning to think of sending the rescue boat. All 5 of us got a share of the treasure and used it wisely or foolishly, according to our personalities. Captain Smollett retired. Ben Gunn got £1,000, which he spent or lost in 19 days, for he was back begging on the 20th day. He is a great favorite, though, and is a notable singer in church on Sundays. Of Silver we have heard no more. That formidable man with one leg has at least gone clean out of my life. I dare say he met his wife and perhaps still lives in comfort with her and Captain Flint. I hope so, for I fear that his chances of comfort in the next world are very small. There's still more treasure hidden on that island, some silver bars and some weapons that Flint buried, but nothing could tempt me back there. The worst dreams I ever had are when I hear the waves booming or when I bolt straight upright in bed, the voice of Captain Flint ringing in my ears, pieces of 8, pieces of 8. All right, there's our ending. Number 1, who do the pirates think they hear calling out? Who is actually calling out? Number 2, why might the voice frighten the pirates? Number 3, in your own words, describe what happens when the pirates finally reach the spot where the treasure is supposed to be buried. Number 4, who do you think is a more trustworthy pirate in this chapter? Ben Gunn or Long John Silver? Support your answer with evidence from the text. And number 5, is the voyage to Treasure Island ultimately a success? Why or why not? Support your answer with evidence from the text. All right, complete sentences for those. Give me text evidence when it asks for it, and let's head over to skills. Let's talk about that word superstitious. So we read in the book, this argument seemed weak to me, but you can never tell what will convince a superstitious person. So someone that is afraid of mysterious things or afraid of the unknown. My superstitious grandmother thinks Friday the 13th is an unlucky day and is worried something bad will happen on that day. So give me one more example of someone being superstitious and then tell me what part of speech is that word. All right, so you're going to click on that link there and go to your body paragraph. Make sure you have 5 sentences, an example of a rising action, the problem, and then you're going to choose one topic to add more details about. And to make this a little easier for you, you can copy and paste your paragraph right into here. So click on this link. I will make it a link so you can click on it. Copy and paste your paragraph right into here so you can edit it and add things that need to be added. All right, that's it for today. Please get on Zoom if you need any help, and we will see you all next time. Bye, Adams.